You mentioned a lot that we're working on, making our research something a really big part of this campus. But my question is to you, sorry, I'm getting nervous. Not just science research, but I think the liberal arts are really important. So what are we doing in helping students work with our faculty to actually make us a research institution? And we have some really, really serious students here. I mean, the hardest working people I've ever met are on this campus. And I guess to follow up to that is that we have some really excellent professors here, people who have changed my life. I mean, I'm a completely different person after 4 years of being here and graduating. And unfortunately, a lot of them aren't even on the tenure track. A lot of them don't know if their job is going to disappear in the next year. And a lot of them are really qualified. So it's not only in their best interest that they, hopefully get on the tenure track, but it's in ours too, because when you invest in the people in the room who are brilliant and really care about you, you're investing in your students and in Rutgers and in the future. So what do you plan to do about that?
Well, there are a bunch of, let me get the top level first and I'll get down to, but because Nancy has already been doing things here in terms of improving research in the arts and literature as well, and has made a phenomenal new chair recruitment here that she can talk about. But when we talk about research, we're not talking about people necessarily in the lab doing DNA analysis. We're talking about academic scholarship in every field. We're as proud of the fact that we have one of the best philosophy departments both in New Brunswick and here in Newark of anybody in the world, and that's important to us. The creative writing program up here is ACES, and we want to see that grow, and we want to see students have access to that as well as as easy as they do to a research laboratory. So we're very important, to us that's very important, and when I talk to my chancellors and set their goals for the year, that's one of the things we're looking at. I can't, as Cicero said something about Praetoreo tacite, passing over in silence. I can't quite do that with your other comment though, because look, we have to be honest about our faculty and what a faculty of a research university is going to look like 10 years from now. And we, as every other research university, will have both tenure and non-tenure track faculty. And if anything, the non-tenure track will probably be growing rather than shrinking. We have to make the non-tenure track faculty also a career with career progression and some commitment to longevity. And that's what we've been doing. This past year we put in advancement criteria for moving to associate and full professor that you can aspire to, and we've had rolling contracts that extend into the future so that people do have more job security. I think you're talking a little bit about part-time faculty was a separate issue, all right? But I consider our faculty to be both tenure track and non-tenure track. They're both critically important. It's a question of how you spend your time and how you choose to spend your time. It's not a question of lesser citizenship. We have to be as aggressive in acknowledging the importance of our non-tenure track faculty, providing them opportunity for advancement, and providing them with the appropriate compensation for what they do. But that is not to be taken as a suggestion that we're suddenly going to reverse the trend and we're going to go to an all-tenured faculty. That is not possible. Not possible. And it won't be done anywhere in this United States.
So let me add to that on both fronts, actually. Most of our biggest initiatives that have come out of the strategic plan, as you know, include research that goes well beyond the sciences. So the 50,000 square feet in the Haynes building that we are doing for a university community arts collaborative will involve enormous amounts of research experience for undergraduates and graduate students and professional students. Bob mentioned Clem Price's Institute. All of that is to really put money into an enterprise that has enormous student involvement in terms of the public humanities. And that's true across campus. So I think looking carefully at the strategic plan, you'll see initiatives that are all over this Rutgers University-Newark that are really well beyond the classic laboratory, although we are clearly investing in that as well. As to the tenure track and non-tenure track, in the strategic plan, you'll remember there are study groups that came out of the strategic plan. One of them is called the New Professoriate, and it's an interdisciplinary group of faculty and staff and students looking at all the kinds of career paths that really make up a modern professoriate. And that's going to include professors of practice who really bring enormous skills to the environment, but don't necessarily want or aren't really ready for a tenure track position, but rather can bring skills in, but need the kind of stability that the president was talking about. So I urge you to watch for what comes out of that study group. We are waiting anxiously, and they are moving really well, and we're bringing in some outside consultants who have done this in other places. So I think the key issue is to recognize the variety of career tracks that our faculty want to have and can have, but that we need to support, and so that it isn't just that the only people with stability are tenure track.
Thank you, Chancellor. We have a question right here.
Yeah, my name is Joe. I'm with the Rutgers AAUP, which is the union that represents grad students and faculty, both full-time and part-time here
Is this a student?
at Rutgers.
Student?
No.
We're just doing student questions for today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can we correct information that President Barchi just put out?
No, we're just doing student questions today. But yeah, we could talk afterwards, but this is just a student thing. And then we could speak to President Barchi afterwards. We have this question, Kira, and then Edwin. Okay, Edwin.
My question is, student tuition has gone up more than 25% since 2008. Yet professors and staff have seen wage freezes and layoffs. How do you justify forcing students to go into debt while only management and athletics get raises and more increase in budget?
That's what I was going to say.
So, does somebody back there clapping want to actually say that there have been no raises for faculty in the last 3 years?
Yeah.
Do you want to really get up there and put your hand on the Bible and say that?
I'll say it. Sure. In real terms, there have been no raises for faculty.
Yeah, okay, well, I will dispute that,
It
but
took
we
place
are,
before
I
that.
believe, are very close
Negotiated
to,
contract.
I'm sorry, you do not have the
You just asked
podium.
us a question, didn't you?
You do not have the podium. I
asked
think
the
we're
question,
very
you wanted
close
to
to
give
an
it to me.
agreement with the union, and I'd like to see that happen, but that happens at the bargaining table. I think our proposal has been made public, and we are looking to provide raises for all
None
of
of which
the
are guaranteed
individuals.
so long as subject to
And
the
I-
nature of the contract.
You
Okay,
have no respect of
we'll
who's
table,
speaking
Professor
here.
Barchi, we'll table this question until afterwards, because I don't think it's fair to the students that have been waiting to ask their question. Afterwards, we can speak to it. Oh, afterwards?
Misinformation, that's all.
All right, but that's fine, we can speak to it afterwards, it's not fair for the other students here. Gina, you got a question?
Good afternoon, it's very nice to have you here today. So whenever Rutgers is advertised, it's advertised as a research university. But what we're seeing now is that I'm getting a little concerned because $10.4 million were spent on athletic coaches' salaries in 2014. You also have 37% of the courses taught at Rutgers Newark are taught by adjunct professors. This is just building on Nancy's point. When you have a bunch of adjunct professors, a bunch of part-time lecturers, this isn't helping the students because the students are limited in their ability to interact with professors, to network with professors, and same goes with professors themselves. A lot of professors are also receiving salaries that are less than 50 grand. That pushes them to adopt a different job or to pick up different jobs or second jobs in addition to the job they have at Rutgers Newark. So again, it limits the Rutgers Newark students' academic experiences. I know you're saying that Rutgers, whenever you graduate, when you get a diploma, it just says Rutgers, so whether or not there's any differences between the campuses, it doesn't really matter, but it actually does really matter because we're being shortchanged of our education when we go on this campus. You also did mention that Rutgers Newark raised $110 million. Do you have a step-by-step process that you can share with us, a transparent step-by-step process that will let us know how this money is being used exactly?
But if I just answer one question at a time.
And just my last question, the Dana Library, I
Yeah.
think I'm going to graduate without seeing the third floor being built, or it's been under
Yeah.
construction. It's under construction since it was built, so again, what's the step-by-step process? I mean, change is happening in Rutgers New Brunswick, it's happening very rapidly, but at Rutgers Newark, I don't know why it's taking over a decade for it to happen.
Yeah, okay. So, I can't answer the Dana Library because I don't know the answer to that, but it's certainly knowable. And I'm sure we can get Tony or somebody else to talk about whatever construction schedules there are. In terms of the fundraising, that's money that was raised over a 7-year period, and it's all accountable. I mean, you can certainly get into it with Chancellor Cantor and see where each dollar was raised and what it was raised for, because every dollar, with the exception of our unrestricted annual fund, which is pretty small, has a donor intent written for it. So some of it went to provide scholarship funds, some of it went to support faculty, some of it went to support facilities, some of it went to support program, but it's all knowable. Understand that that's an amount of money that comes in each year. It's not $110 million a year. It's over the entire course of that. And appreciate that we've been really working hard to keep even a break-even budget for the university as a whole, even as much as we're trying to ramp up fundraising. In terms of athletics, listen, I absolutely agree that we've got to get operating funds out of athletics and back to academics, and that's what we have put together, this multi-year plan to do that. I think we have a plan, we've shared it, I think it will get us there to a cost-neutral position, and I believe that not too far in the future we can be where other Big Ten schools are, where the athletics program actually spins off some support for academics, not the other way around. You can't do it overnight, there's no way to do that. You already made a decision years ago about D1 sports. You made a decision about what you were trying to invest in. Now you can see the goal. It's out there in terms of when we become full-time members of the Big Ten. Yeah, and there's a financial number tied to that you can get out of the newspapers if you want to. It's a very big number that more than offsets the entire supplement that we provide in athletics now. We can't get there tomorrow. We have to do that incrementally over the years. We will get there. And my goal with the athletics department is to make sure they stay on that glide path and to make sure that any additional dollars we have hits my target of reducing their supplement each year, and that we put that money into academics. On the other hand, keep in mind that we're talking about an athletics budget overall, which is about $50 million, in a school that is $3.75 billion overall. Right? So you don't want to put too much focus on solving the problem with the supplement for athletics, because we have to do a lot more than that. We have to do so much more than that in terms of generating funds to do the things you want to do. Generating the funds to hire the best faculty, generating the funds to provide you with the infrastructure where you can interact with them, and the labs that you can work in, and the conference rooms that you can write in, and all that sort of thing. And that has to be done every single day. And it has to be done by me, by Nancy, by Todd, and by everybody in the senior management team. That's part of what we're trying to do. We have to take costs out of the system. I think one of the biggest funding mechanisms for allowing us to go forward is actually taking inefficiency out of the system. I mean, we're still running our corporate services, if you will, our HR and our financial systems and our public relations and our security and all the other things that we do on systems that were antiquated 10 years ago. Mostly paper, very inefficient, very personal, touch-heavy, very slow. I mean, I can tell you that my wife, who's a faculty member, took a visiting faculty out to dinner for the department as a recruitment tool. 6 months later, she still hasn't been reversed for that. And I'm told that that's sort of par for the course. So it's that sort of thing that we can change. And out of that, we can squeeze the dollars that'll give us the margin that we can reinvest in the academics. That is the name of the game. Whether we take them out of athletics, which I think is, we'll do it, but the real money is in all the other areas where we can make investments in redesigning the business process, slimming down the personnel, making it more effective, more efficient, and taking those costs out, provide better service, and getting the dollars to reinvest in the academic mission.
Thank you, President Borchi. Kira, you have a question? We have room for about 2 more questions, and then we'll cut off. She's been waiting, and then we'll pass it off. Okay. Kira.
Hi, my name is Kira. I'm a senior. And at the end of the day, all of us who come to college are graduating looking for jobs. And I think on the subject, we talk about the disparities between Rutgers Newark and New Brunswick. I'm a business school student, so I can only speak to my experience as a business school student. But it's ridiculous how disproportionate the recruitment is between the 2 campuses. And this is the most diverse school in America. If someone else tells me that again, then I'm going to cry. And plenty of companies are putting hundreds of millions of dollars into diversifying their employees. I mean, they should be knocking down the doors of like all of us are here, like Like, we have every color, race, sexuality here. We're all very, very intelligent, capable people. I find myself reaching out to companies, talking about the course loads we have here, what kind of students we have here, and how valuable they are here. I don't understand why I have to do that at all. I think that should be something the university puts funding and muscle behind. So I just think that overall, our Career Development Center needs to be one of the most aggressive and well-funded offices on this campus. It definitely is not. And I don't know, I know the least about that office, yet they affect my life the most. Yeah. And I definitely think that when it comes to the people who work there, someone needs to be held more accountable. And if I go to another career fair here, where there's nobody here I want to work for, I go to New Brunswick, which I don't have a license, I have to pay to go up there to go to career fair to find a job. And I just think that needs to change immediately across all majors.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Let me say. That's one of the things that we absolutely have to address. I think Rutgers, New Brunswick is a year or two ahead of you in terms of turning their career center program on its ear and kind of putting new people in, new programs in. We absolutely have to do that here. Nancy knows that, Todd knows that. You know, it doesn't make any sense to be educating people and not helping them to get the kind of careers that we're educating them to have. Not only does it help you, it doesn't help us. Because you are our best advertisement. When you go out there and get jobs in industry and show what you can do, it brings those people back to look at what we're doing here in Rutgers Newark. And we can't get better advertisement than that. So not to have those kinds of career counseling, career services, shooting ourselves not only in the foot, but higher up the net. So this is a high priority for me. Absolutely, you are right.
Can I just add a little bit to that? A couple of things. One is John Gunkel sitting right back there, and he can tell you that that is a big piece of what came out of the strategic plan, as you probably know, and that we are intensifying our efforts and talking, as we speak, talking to schools and colleges. RBS has actually, at Newark, has in recent years really increased its placement statistics. So we need to find out why you're feeling that recruitment fairs are not full. We can look at that. I talk to a lot of corporate leaders all the time who want to recruit from here. So I think you're absolutely right, and it's right on the top of our agenda. That and advising are the two big pieces that came out, and they're not unrelated. So thank you for raising it, but we should also talk more specifically about the career fair issues, because the actual placement statistics are much better than they've ever been. So we should talk about that.
And now we're going to get to our last two questions.
First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Markey for coming up to Newark. I'd like to see you more up here to speak to students. Being part of Big Ten was a gutsy move, and it really paid off for me. I'm a doctoral candidate, and I can get those library books from wherever, which when I started here we couldn't do. I just would like to make a couple of comments which build upon what other people say. Career services. My dissertation is on international labor. What I'm finding in Europe is that the universities there are dedicating a staff member in their departments to help students actually get jobs, basically pounding pavement and helping them pound pavement. Because PhD students, somebody like me, if you really want to teach, those teaching jobs are very difficult to find. So that might be a consideration for Rutgers. Public safety, we talked about having that porous border. I'm out of here before the sun goes down. There have been times I've been on this, in front of Robeson here, I literally had to run to my car. I don't see any police officers around here anymore, and that scares me. I think we have to have a stronger police presence here. Parking was mentioned here. We have...
Can we address these one at a time? So
Yeah.
Todd has some specific information
your last statement
about the police presence.
So I have heard about this, about police presence, and so I commissioned a study of the allocation of police since we did the integration. It turns out we have a larger complement of police officers being assigned to our space since integration than before. The problem is, perception is all, it becomes reality when we start talking about it. In terms of actual numbers, we have a larger number of police officers in the Rutgers University Police Departments in our space during the daytime hours and the evening hours than we had before integration. And we're continuing to add new police officers because we're looking to fill vacancies.
Thank you very much for that. I think a cost-saving measure that we might implement here would be the elimination of the health center now that we have a hospital.